I remember reading this story and straight away feeling sick to my gut. The story was about a man, let's call him Greg, who falls in love with this one woman. One day, the woman comes to Greg with a very sad face. She was crying, hissing, shedding tears all over the place. Her face was all red. You could tell that she was clearly not happy about something. Well, because Greg had supposedly fallen in love with this woman, he just couldn't see her like this. He asks her, "What happened? What's with all the crying and hissing?" It takes the women a good 10 minutes to finally calm down and gather her breath to speak. She tells Greg that the doctors have told her about her failing kidneys. In 6 months, both her kidneys will fail. Greg didn't know what to do. He simply calms the women as best as he can. And after all the chit-chat, she goes home. That whole night, Greg couldn't sleep. He thinks to himself, this might be a perfect opportunity to try and win her over. Greg thinks that this is his perfect opportunity to make the women fall in love with him. How? By giving her one of his own kidneys. Now, truth be told, this is a nice gesture in itself. That is, if Greg was doing this out of goodwill. But Greg thinks, by doing this he will win the women over. Anyways, Greg tells the women that he will give her one of his kidneys. The women's face lights up. But here's the crazy part. And after reading this part, I felt like slapping someone. So after the surgery happens, Greg goes and asks the women out on a date. And note, at this time she is single. She says yes, as she should. But guess what happens next? She cheats on him. She leaves him for another man. And what does Greg do in return? He keeps on messaging her, pleading her to come back. He would even send flowers to her house from time to somehow win her over. Now, even though looking back at the story, what Greg did was not anything bad in itself. But remember, attraction can't be traded. Meaning, you can't buy attraction. You can't trade it with something else. In this case, Greg tried to trade the attraction with his own kidneys. That's exactly how a simp behaves. A beta male. You give something in return for an expectation. That's one of the best ways to get cheated on and get your heart broken. Why? Because that's how you end up in the friend zone. If all you are doing is simply fluffing the woman with all these different gifts, then attraction will never happen. The only thing that will happen is a friend zone, and in some rare cases, a brother zone. Of course, what the women did to Greg was disrespectful, but man up and own up to it. Make a commitment to yourself to never again put any woman on a pedestal, or anything for that matter, except God alone. I suggest you note this line down. Attraction cannot be bought or traded. Of course, you might get a bunch of gold diggers from your money, and you could call that buying attraction. But at the end of the day, that's still no true attraction. Because the minute she sees the next gold, then guess where she's headed now. The only way to build true attraction is to let the male and female dynamics kick in. That's right. Think of it like a magnet. On the magnet, there are two parts, the North and South Pole. How do you think these two poles attract each other? By trading goods? By giving each other kidneys? No, there's only one way. That's to let their polarities combine. When you learn this simple hack, you understand male and female attraction. This is why most men end up in the friend zone. Because of their own silly mistakes. Now imagine, there's a very good man. He fears God and tries to do good wherever he can. He donates to the poor. He feeds the hungry and so on. Now, if this man gives the woman his kidneys, then by all means it's well and good. Why? Because he would do that for anybody, no matter their skin, age, or gender. Because he is what you would call a good, God-fearing man. But if you are simply doing this to please the women or win her over, then you are already off to the wrong start. Instead of focusing on what to give her, focus on how you can make her feel. So instead of focusing on the expensive Gucci handbags to buy for her, focus on your conversation, your vibe. your connection, your status, your grooming and fitness. These things play the biggest role in male and female dynamics. By all means, buy her gifts, but without having expectations in return. Simply do good for the sake of doing good, because you would do that for anyone.